Eventually, I am able to move fully into the lathe. Finally, I get to do some turning. I've got this walnut blank that I've already prepared, and I did this maybe a month or so before. I had prepared it with some gold flecked epoxy running through the center of this board. There was a deep center of rot that used to be there, and I chipped out a bunch of it and poured the epoxy in the center because I wanted to try to redeem this piece of wood. And honestly, this is one of my favorite projects. I just love doing that. I love it when damaged places become part of the beauty instead of something hidden away. That's the real story of redemption. Not pretending damage never existed, but transforming it into something meaningful. That's what the Lord does. The disciples carried scars after the resurrection, the kind of scars that were internal, the ones that struggled to deal with all the weight that the death on the cross of their beloved teacher, mentor, and friend brought to them. Jesus carried the scars after the resurrection. Those wounds aren't erased, but they are used to redeem. So I get to work. I start turning. The shavings are flying, and the shape starts to emerge. And for a while, everything begins to feel smooth. Progress feels visible. You ever have seasons like that, where life finally feels like it's all coming together? Where momentum returns? Where things finally are starting to make sense again? Those seasons are gifts. Enjoy them. But I would encourage you to stay humble in them as well, because hidden problems still exist sometimes underneath the surface. When I started this bowl, I had a plan. I wanted to make something small, something beautiful. It's a piece of walnut, and you can see where I poured the epoxy right down the center of it. I haven't had a lot of luck working with these epoxy bowls. Every once in a while, I'll have one that succeeds, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And I really want this to be one of those bowls. And I've hesitated working on it for a while because I didn't want to be disappointed. I didn't want to get into the middle of it and have it fall apart on me. And I was struggling at the bottom of this bowl to get it where it needed to be. And if you look closely, you can see there's some tear outs and some chips and some problems that's going on there with the bowl turning. But I kept at it because I really want this piece to be beautiful. I have an image in my mind of what I think it's going to be. So flipping it around and getting it on the chuck, I was able to use the Forstner bits to widen it out a little bit. And I was able to get into the shape that I think is going to be its final form. It's not a very fancy bowl. It's just a simple bowl shape. I start sanding the bowl, and that's when I notice it. There's a bunch of tiny air bubbles inside the epoxy. Imperfections that I found underneath the surface that, well, I didn't know was there. Now, technically, I could have ignored it. I could have pushed through and I could have finished this bowl. I could have put some oil on it, turned the camera at just the right angle. And I don't even know if most people looking at it from this vantage point would even notice. But I would know. And honestly, one of the biggest lessons maturity teaches is this: not everything has to be finished today. Sometimes wisdom looks like stopping, setting something aside, and coming back when it's ready. That's hard for people like me. Maybe for you too. We want completion. We want closure. We want accomplishment. But rushing damaged things usually only creates worse problems later. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to admit this needs more work. Not failure, not quitting, just honesty.